All right, so this is a suggestion via Patreon. The name of the video is I'm a Doctor. Corporate greed is killing your ER. Yeah. Thought that was the obvious statement, right? It's coming from the channel, The More Perfect Union. Let's jump into it.
I love emergency medicine. We're at our best when it's the most chaotic because that's how we thrive. The nights, the weekends, the holidays, that's what we train for, right? When we could no longer actually take care of the patients the way we would want our grandmothers treated, that's when we started having problems.
Michelle is one of 3 physicians we talked to who works for a private equity-backed emergency department. After private equity came to their hospitals, patients sat in the waiting room for hours and went home to record medical bills.
Nobody feels good about 15-hour wait times. Nobody feels good about bad patient outcomes.
Physicians are experiencing burnout and moral injury at unprecedented rates.
I could imagine.
The fact that investors or companies are coming into this place that is just for people who are in trouble or are scared or are dying to say, how can we make money here? Feels to me unholy.
It is. It does. It sounds absolutely crazy. This is why I try my hardest to never allow anything to happen to me in the United States of America at all. Guys, I don't know what's going on. I don't know how other countries are able to do it. Again, guys, I live half the year in Spain, and I'm not sure I ever actually paid anything for medical assistance, and I have asthma, so I go to the hospital, not the hospital, but I go to the little emergency care occasionally, right, in Spain, and I've never paid a single thing. The next thing someone is going to say is, well, the taxes are high. I pay more taxes in the United States of America than I do in Spain, and I get free healthcare. That's weird.
These 3 doctors are speaking out about the devastating impact private equity is having on their work and the lives of their patients.
We
And
have
dental, guys,
this
and
kind of
dental.
sacred relationship with patients, and we take an oath to take care of patients. And I think that really is at odds with the goals of a corporation.
Michelle Weiner is an emergency room physician in Detroit.
The city of Detroit has taken a lot of crap over the years. We have a huge vulnerability.
Oh, let me correct something really quickly, because I know what's going to happen here. How are you living there paying tax? Okay, my wife pays taxes in Spain, so we still pay family taxes in Spain.
Population, and I think they deserve better. And I'm not even talking about the Lions.
Before you start typing.
Michelle started working at Ascension Hospital just weeks before she and her colleagues were replaced by Team Health, a private staffing firm owned by Blackstone, the world's largest private equity fund.
We started seeing it almost immediately. It used to be that we would have enough staff that we could efficiently move patients through. Because when you really look at the board and realize there's people waiting for 15 hours, and we could have had a better patient outcome if they had been seen in 6 hours, that's really hard to deal with at the end of the day, knowing you're not actually doing your best.
Team Health is what's known as a contract management group.
None of the doctors knew that they were coming in, that the contract had been sold. Nobody told them until the day that they had taken over. I mean, it was almost like being bought and sold like cattle.
Clayton Dalton has a similar story.
Yeah,
he was an
what it sounds
emergency
like.
physician at Presbyterian Hospital in Santa Fe.
It was a great place to work. We had a good group of doctors who enjoyed working there, many of whom had been there since the hospital opened.
In 2023, Presbyterian announced it would be contracting with a private staffing firm, Sound Physicians, and firing all of its emergency room doctors.
It was a bit of a surprise when they let us know that they were going to be terminating all of us.
The hospital gave the physicians the chance to be rehired by the staffing firm.
I didn't know about Sound Physicians specifically, but I knew a fair bit about the kind of business they were.
Sound Physicians, like Team Health, is a private equity-backed firm that places emergency physicians at hospitals across the country. The company is owned by the healthcare giant Optum Health and the PE firm Summit Partners.
They're not usually in it for the long term. They're not thinking about how do we improve this business long
Right, they're trying to get as much money as humanly possible as fast as they possibly can.
term. They think about how do we make things look better on the short term so we can sell it to somebody else.
Clayton went to the local press and protested Sound Physicians' arrival, but ultimately uprooted and found work at a hospital 3 hours across the state. Emergency medicine is one of the youngest medical specialties. It was a wartime necessity and then expanded into trauma centers across the country. Because the United States doesn't have a national healthcare system, emergency departments also became the last resort for people who were uninsured or who didn't have a primary care doctor. If you're in primary care, you can open up your own practice. Emergency physicians are different. They need to work with a hospital. So historically, they would form democratic groups that function like a cooperative and contracted with local hospitals. These doctors would share the decision-making and the profits. In the 1970s, a few physicians abandoned the democratic model and started trying to make the group into a business. The physicians no longer had shared equity in decision-making. They just worked for one or two doctors who had ownership. That's the contract management group. In the 90s and 2000s, these groups consolidated and expanded, and leadership slowly became ex-physicians and business executives, not working doctors. One of these doctor executives was Lynn Massengale, the founder of Team Health. Team Health started, they like to say, in a closet in the lobby of the emergency department in 1979 and grew to be one of the biggest physician staffing agencies in the country.
When we came together
So that's the guy that ruined healthcare for us all in America. Okay.
in the mid-90s and tried to grow this thing into a national entity, we had the blessing of strong non-physician business people that joined us.
This business model essentially created a model that was interesting to private equity.
Mitchell Lee was a physician at St. John's Ascension with Michelle and now lives in Asheville, North Carolina.
Mission Hospital is in the community that I live in, and what's happened to it is really an example of what's been happening throughout the entire country, because Mission Hospital is the only level 2 trauma center in all of Western North Carolina. It's the only major hospital, which means there's no other options and there's no competition.
In 2019, Mission was taken over by
And the fact that we're talking about competition for a hospital, for an emergency room, is absolutely sickening, guys.
HCA, the largest for-profit hospital in the country. HCA contracts with Team Health. Since the acquisition, over 200 doctors have left the hospital throughout departments, and the hospital is at risk of losing Medicare funding.
There are now multiple municipal lawsuits, antitrust lawsuits, class action lawsuits against Mission Hospital or HCA for anti-competitive behavior and raising the costs. And there is a movement of the citizens really standing up to oust HCA out of the community.
Private equity started buying CMGs in the 2000s and 2010s. Today, 25% of emergency departments are staffed by PE-backed CMGs. Private equity has been interested in healthcare for the last 20 years, citing, as Bain Capital put it, an aging population. PE has invested more than $830 billion in healthcare in the last 20 years and has driven consolidation of the market through mergers and acquisitions.
I think that one of the things that is very attractive to a CMG or a corporate entity or a private equity investor about emergency medicine in particular is this idea of a captive market. Patients don't really have an opportunity to choose or to do some market research before they decide where they're going to go when they're having crushing chest pain.
Right. It's like an immediate thing. What is the closest hospital to me? Oh, there's that one there? Oh, and they're associated with these guys and they do things similar? And I'm going to go because, I don't know, I stepped on a nail and I'm going to now get, what, a $20,000 bill at the end of the day? Bro, that's crazy. All right? You know it. There's going to be some of the naysayers out there. They are. I know it. They're going to be like, listen, I heard in Canada the wait list is so long that bro, listen, or another one here from the NHS in the UK. The wait list is so long, guys. I haven't had that. I don't know, right? I've never had to be on any type of super long wait list. I think the longest I had to wait for. And keep in mind, it wasn't an emergency. If it was an emergency, a little different, and you know that. You know that, Canadian or British person, right? You know that. It's different. It's not the same. It's not the same, right? But if you have wait on some type of surgery, you may have to wait a week. Would you want to? How about this? You're not going to wait in pain. Keep that in mind. They're going to give you all types of craziness. They will. Right? But would you rather wait or have to file for bankruptcy after you have your surgery? Do you want to decide which finger is worth more because it's cheaper? Like you lose 3 fingers. Okay, in America you have to decide basically which one of your fingers are worth it. I don't know which is the cheapest. What kind of decision is that, bro?
Or when they go off the road in a winter ice storm and are in a traffic accident, right? There's no decision there.
No.
When a PE-backed CMG takes over an emergency room, physicians report caring for more patients and shorter times with those patients. CMGs replace experienced practitioners with lower-paid roles, and patients start seeing unexpected bills, huge bills. A lawsuit against Team Health in North Carolina claimed Team Health pushed unnecessary tests and defrauded state and federal Medicare.
There was no transparency whatsoever. In the old group, we were allowed to see what was billed and coded under our names. In this new group, we were not allowed to see any of the billing.
A 2020 study showed that PE-backed CMGs were routinely taking physicians out of network and then billing patients. A study from Stanford showed that 42% of emergency room visits in 2016 came with a surprise out-of-network bill.
The hospital still says Presbyterian on the front. And there are a lot of people in New Mexico who think of Presbyterian as like their healthcare system, right? Maybe they have insurance through Presbyterian, like their doctors are Presbyterian, like they're gonna go to the Presbyterian hospital when they have chest pain. And there's not a sign on the front door that says that like ground floor front door ER is now owned by Sound Physicians Incorporated, an outside investor-owned corporate entity. There's no way patients would know.
In 2022, Congress passed the
Maybe you should make that a law.
No Surprises Act.
Like, make them put a sign outside and say, hey, listen, I know you think this isn't like a regular type emergency room. This is not. In fact, it is privately owned and you are about to get price gouged.
Act, which put a cap on how much a patient could be charged by an out-of-network provider. Team Health came out publicly in support of the No Surprises Act, but then secretly backed a dark money pack with its competitor Envision to oppose the legislation. They spent $75 million on ads calling the act
government rate setting.
For now, patients are protected, but that's left the CMGs battling in court with major insurance companies over who's going to actually cover the bills. Since the act passed, Envision filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and Team Health has been labeled at risk. They lost their main way of making profits off of patients.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
This is often how they approach the legislature, to say we're going to innovate. Well, they innovate how to make more money for themselves. They don't really innovate anything that's actually helping with society, because their secret sauce was gouging patients, without any transparency in what's billed or collected by the physicians.
Mitchell is a member of the American Academy of Emergency Medicine Physician Group, which is currently suing Team Health and Envision under the corporate practice of medicine laws. In the late 19th century, during the last Gilded Age, laws were established that said you had to have a license to practice medicine, that you had to have certain standards of care, and that a doctor or hospital couldn't be owned by a for-profit corporation.
Yeah, let's go back
was
to
the
that.
regulation of the corporate practice of medicine. These laws were active in most states, but it varied how often they were enforced.
Like, I'm down for making this be somewhat public, but I'm also fully aware that if we make it public, then that means technically it'll be government ran, and the government is terrible at running everything, generally. So oh no, see, here goes the contradiction, right? Here's when capitalism steps back up and it's like, listen, we have the best option for real. They do, but it needs to be cheaper. Okay, that's what needs to happen here. There needs to be a set price for a lot of these things. They shouldn't be this expensive. But again, I would like it to be somewhat public, but I also don't want the government to run it. So I guess that can't happen, right? Because I know when the private industry does something, it's going to actually be done kind of correctly because they're making money from it, right? But I would like for the prices to be basically be 10% of whatever they are. I don't think that we should be making absolute billionaires off of the healthcare system. I'm not sure that should be okay. I'm just going to be honest. It should definitely be cheaper because you can get those same pills at a much different cost as soon as you cross the border. Basically, it's just us that gets taxed like this.
The lawsuits against Team Health and Envision are pending, but there are other things physicians are doing right now to fight the private equity takeover.
Okay.
In 2020, Michelle started talking to her colleagues about the changes that were happening at St. John's. And in 2023, the workers employed with Team Health announced they were unionizing.
It wasn't the difficulty of the job. The nights, the weekends, the violent patients, the drunk, psychotic patients, that's what we trained for, right?
Violent
It's when we could no
patients.
longer actually take care of the patients in a way we thought was safe and good, like the way we would want our grandmothers treated. That's when we started having problems.
Michelle will tell you she never expected to lead a union drive. She's a lifelong Republican.
Everybody says, well, how did you get a bunch of doctors to unionize? Because doctors are notoriously hard to unionize. And I said, well, this has been a 7-year process. And when the only Republican in the group says, I think it's time to unionize, we've run out of options.
Yeah, that's weird. Didn't expect that. Just gonna be honest.
Everybody just kind of said, okay, I guess we're
Right.
there.
I guess if you get to that point and you're coming from specifically the right, then yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, if it's that bad, it got that bad. Imagine it got that bad that she realized something. and then did something.
The FTC is taking public comments about the role of private equity in healthcare, the rising costs, the deaths in hospitals, the short staffing.
A common theme across comments is that growing financialization in the healthcare industry can force medical professionals to subordinate their medical judgment to corporate decision makers' profit motives at the expense of patient health.
And they're also reviewing private equity acquisitions of healthcare providers under antitrust laws.
The fact that investors or companies are coming into this place that is just for patients, right? It's just for people who are in trouble or are scared or are dying. To come into that space and to say, how can we make money here, feels to me unholy. It should just be a public utility. Just like you should be able to have access to safe drinking water. You should be able to have access to electricity. Like, you should be able to have access to good emergency.
Electricity. Okay, hold the phone, buddy. You're going off the rails. All right. Electricity is not a right. All right. I'm sorry, not that one. If you want to talk about water, air, right? Sure. Water as much as you want, right? I'm sure you can find some type of stream or something that can, is running. And you can get your water out of there, if that makes any sense here. I'm fine with that. Electricity is not that. You can find a way to generate it yourself. It's really not that hard, right? That would be the case. But if you are using... No, bro, that's not a right. Stop playing. That's too much.
When I actually applied to do emergency medicine, it was one of the most competitive specialties you could do because everybody wanted to do emergency medicine. And now we didn't match 50% of our residency positions last year because people have been rotating through the department. And as medical students, they see what it's like and the chaos and how everybody is treated. And they are just like, I'm out. I don't want to do this. I'll become a dermatologist. I'll remove moles for the rest of my life. And we're losing a lot of good people.
Okay. Thanks for watching The Classroom for More Perfect Union.
All right, guys, I like this. Right? I mean, I'm not sure I specifically enjoy the fact that this is happening, but I do like how they delivered this story. It is something that should probably be brought to massive amount of attention, but I'm sure all of us already know the American healthcare system is absolutely privatized and terrible in every aspect. Right? I want to point out something here, guys. Human beings have a right to a lot of things, right? Something's on me. It would be nice if, people had the right to kind of be alive, right? And if someone had the ability, you should probably help, right? But there are certain things that I can't back, bro. Specifically electricity. You know how long we lived on this planet without electricity, bro? That's a luxury. There are still places on this planet that live without electricity. Again, it's a luxury. So I don't know how you could say electricity, like specifically if you are not someone that suffers from, I don't know, you need like a breathing machine, or you have some type of, I don't know, disorder where your heart stops while you're sleeping, or anything similar to these type of things, right? That electricity is absolutely mandatory for you to exist. Electricity is not a right, bro. That's a luxury. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and point that out. That's because I know if I don't fully explain what I was saying, they're going to come at me in the comments. It happens all the time. All right, so let me go ahead and say that, all right? But all right, listen, guys, let me know in the comments of the next subject we should be checking out, and I will get into that as soon as I possibly can, all right? And listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy your day thoroughly. Guys, before we go, are you guys subscribed to the other channels? Logical Movie Reviews with Mr. L. Boyd, along with Mr. L. Boyd Music. Both are found in the description. Check it out.